Tell me a little bit more about your company.
So Quova's been around for about 11 years. We are the IP geolocation solutions provider in the industry, so we help people figure out where people are. And so we provide geointelligence and have been for about 11 years for fraud detection, for geofencing, for marketing, advertising, security, you name it. As long as you can figure out where somebody is, you can learn a lot about what they're doing and what you don't want them to do in some cases.
Right, exactly. Yeah, lots of implications of this. So you guys are in the middle of a huge momentum shift.
Yes.
Everybody's got their device and everybody wants to know where everybody is. What is coming up for you guys over the next year that you're the most excited about?
We have our IP solutions, which we're launching an ad network around. So most ad networks are built around cookie targeting, and we're actually using the data intelligence we have in our database for IP to go out and create an ad network and help people target small businesses, enterprises by name, college students, airports, convention centers, you name it. Anything that has fixed IP, we can go out and target against through real-time bidding. So with real-time bidding and the access to inventory, we can build a network and go out and find people, for instance, that are accessing the internet from UCLA's campus, all college students, and we are able to go out and find those people when they're out in the universe and build ad campaigns around that. So we're helping companies reach people based on those connections and build the ad campaigns around it.
Does it get any more personalized than just geo-targeting? Like, is there an opt-in, opt-out kind of model that's part of that?
It's not an opt-in, opt-out model. I think when you look at the level we're doing is you really need to figure out where that bar is. And from a cookie perspective, I built the publisher platform and helped build it over at Audience Science and understand the cookie world pretty well. And I think the problem there is you have that kind of behavioral ceiling. Right, as you have not personally identifiable information, but you're tracking what they're searching for, what they're looking at, what they're reading, all of that. With IP targeting, it's larger audiences. Is it any more personal than you're a UCLA college student? It's not. And from IP, it's not personally identifiable. So I think we're staying above the bar or below the bar, depending on how you look at it. What we're doing is looking for a larger audience, whether it's small businesses in Dallas, or whether it's an enterprise like Intel, and we're reaching people in the San Francisco Bay Area. So it's very general and innocuous that way. So we're not looking at individual patterns or behavioral or anything like that. From that perspective, does it need to be opt-in or opt-out? I think the regulators will decide that, but I think where we're setting the bar is it's much like, would you be upset if somebody knew that you lived in a certain town? Right. Probably not.
Well, and frankly, as a user, now I'm a little bit different since I'm also sort of an insider, but I love the idea of getting Los Angeles-specific ads.
And when you think about it at the hyper-local level, the big problem we have in this industry with geolocation is you need to get from that metro area, which we have now as an industry, and we've been providing that data for years, is get that down to the neighborhood level. So if you live in a particular neighborhood, it drives hyper-local advertising, and more importantly, it drives demographics. Right? So demographics in this industry is we make these inference-based models based on data and data intelligence, and we try and figure out where somebody is based on what they do, or who somebody is based on what they do. So just because somebody goes to Forbes and Bloomberg 6 times a month doesn't mean that they make $100,000 a year. You know that based on where they live. And that data intelligence, it's kind of birds of a feather flock together. Is people in high-income neighborhoods tend to live together. People in Hispanic neighborhoods tend to live together. And we need to know where people are in order to apply all those. So the challenge you have is that all of the offline data, we've been collecting data for 75 years in this industry. And so all of that data resides based on government-sanctioned ZIP and ZIP+4. And we need to drive that intelligence in the internet, and it's an infrastructure problem. I mean, the device or the network was built to understand a device being plugged into the network, not necessarily the location of that device. And so we've used IP as the basic proxy for that for years, for over a decade. And now we need to bring that technology down. So we're working on solutions for hyperlocal. We're driving that down to the ZIP, ZIP+4 level, and opening up a whole new can of worms for this industry. It's fun.
Okay, a couple more questions.
Sure.
One, who are you partnering with right now?
We're partnering with, we just announced with XA.net. They're a DSP in San Francisco, and they're the ones that are helping us drive the acquisition and arbitrage of inventory out on the public markets. So with real-time bidding, it's a broadcast model, and they've built a really great bidding engine that enables us to go out and buy inventory based on IP ranges we're looking for.
Can you mention any clients right now?
Not at this moment, no. We're running a bunch of campaigns and nothing's public yet, but we'll be coming up with this.
We'll ask you that next time we talk. How about any specific advice for companies who are wanting to start using this in targeting their consumers?
Well, I think it's a different mindset. I think the entire industry is really focused on cookies, and rightly so. We've built a $25 billion industry based on direct response and cookies. But when you start talking about consumer packaged goods, if you looked at my behavioral patterns and history of web browsing for the last 15 years, you would have no idea what kind of toothpaste I buy. You don't know what kind of toilet paper we use in our house. You don't know what kind of food products. You don't know what kind of cleaning products, none of that stuff. So when you get past that, what I call the behavioral ceiling, which is you can look at the behavioral patterns and know a lot about somebody and what they're buying, in some cases, but when you get into Procter & Gamble and Kraft and Unilever and all of those, it's a different mindset, and it's a different issue that we need to deal with as an industry based on location and demographics, because 80% of the spend in a particular home is within 5 miles of the home. It's spent at the drugstore, it's spent at the grocery store, it's spent at the cleaners and local restaurants. We need to drive that down to the local level, and we're not doing that yet as an industry because we've been really focused on behavioral patterns. And I think there's a privacy issue. I mean, I think ultimately the regulators need to decide. I mean, John Leibowitz stood up yesterday and talked about self-regulation. Is an industry going to self-regulate themselves out of business?
Well, that was my next question. Are you self-regulating? What are your recommendations for the industry?
Well, I think we need to set the bar and figure out what that bar is. I think the bar moves continually based on who we're talking to and what they're doing. I mean, you look at third-party cookies in this industry and behavioral, what percentage of this industry is actually driven on third-party cookies and behavioral data? 10%? 15%? Maybe? So I think the challenge is that the people that are making the most noise have the most to lose because they're using third-party cookies. Not to say that third-party cookies are bad. I think there's a huge use for them in the industry. I just don't think we're giving users the opportunity and the understanding of what's really happening on the back end.
Well, and super cookies are bringing whole new implications, and I know that there's now some opt-out going on, but still.
I mean, the opt-out, I think the problem is everybody knows if you make it opt-in, you're going to get maybe 10%. Unless you're providing some sort of amazing service on the back end. But, you know, with IP targeting, we're kind of taking that bar up and we're saying, look, we just want to help reach people by where they live. We don't want to know what they're doing online. I don't want to know what they're searching for. I don't want to know what they're reading or anything like that. We don't need cookies to do that. We just need I mean, you think about the basic postal codes that we've implemented in this country. That's as much as we need in order to drive kind of core marketing and traditional marketing. And the traditional marketing folks are starting to step in, and you know, Procter & Gamble is doing a lot with Facebook, and they're starting to spend a lot more money online. They're doing that based on location and demographics, and we need to start driving that.
Okay, so geo-based tracking, it is here, it is real. Mike, thanks so much.
Yep.